So the Electoral Court will on Monday hear Jabulani Khumalo's application to remove former President Jacob Zuma as leader of the Umkhonto weSizwe party. Khumalo wants the court to declare the commission's registration of Zuma as the party leader as invalid. According to Khumalo, the court must compel the commission to register him as the MK party leader. Khumalo, who was recently expelled from the party, wrote to the IEC earlier this month to have Zuma, who is currently the face of the party, on the ballot, removed. To unpack this, we are joined by legal analyst, Mr. Modidima Mannya. Mr. Mannya, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of this, right? Let's start with just hearing the news that Jabulani Khumalo is really forging forward, even as we are in the middle of vote counting, to have the former president removed as leader of the MK party. Just hearing it, what was your first thoughts?
Well, good morning, Naledi and your viewers. I think it sort of amplifies the breakdown in the relationships within MK. What we might not know is the extent, because it clearly means there are two groups here vying for control. I mean, as you correctly point out, Mr. Zuma is already on the ballot. The voting has taken place. There's no way the IEC can remove his face from the ballot paper. The ballot paper has already been cast. It's been counted as we speak.
Yeah, but I suppose then what he would want to do is to have the former president removed as leader of the MK party. I mean, from a legal point of view, is that something that's possible?
Yes. Look, he seems to be suggesting that Mr. Zuma became the leader or registered with the IEC as a leader through fraudulent means. Of course, if that be true, the court will be enjoined to set aside his registration as a party leader. Maybe let me explain that, when you apply for registration of a political party, amongst others, you indicate who the party leader is. You submit a constitution, you submit what is called a deed of foundation with about 1,000 signatures of registered voters. Now, I have not seen the constitution of MK, I haven't seen their deed of foundation, so I don't know what it provides for in terms of how leaders are appointed after the constitution of the party, which will be provided for in the deed of foundation. Now, one of the issues, obviously, which I suppose will be pertinent, is how Mr. Zuma got to replace Mr. Khumalo, as he claims that it's fraud. He says his signature was forged. The second issue would be whether they've complied with their constitution and deed of foundation.
Yeah, how does this now relate to the process that the MK party has already been through with the Electoral Court, and then the decision by the Electoral Court giving Zuma the platform to head up the party going into these elections and stand as a candidate in the National Assembly, and then, of course, the Court overturning that? How would this then impact on that ruling by the Court that says that the former president simply cannot stand as a candidate to run in the National Assembly as a result of his conviction in 2021?
Well, it's got no effect whatsoever, because the court was not considering the case based on whether Mr. Zuma is the leader of the party or not. It was dealing with his eligibility as a member of parliament, that is, as an individual member of parliament. So it's got no bearing on this. I think what this simply means is we're going to probably have a situation where there are questions about who has the authority to act on behalf of the party. Let's assume there was to be another set of litigation. It's going to be important who exactly has the authority to institute or defend legal proceedings or enter into contracts on behalf of the party in the light of what Mr. Khumalo is saying. For instance, the party surely has a bank account, and the question would be, who is authorized to operate the bank account? And as you know, banks are very sensitive. Once two people come and start to contest who the signatory to the bank account, they'll simply just freeze it until the matter is resolved. So it might have other legal implications in terms of the functioning and functionality of the party.
Yeah, but is this a matter for the Electoral Court?
No, the matter for the Electoral Court is whether the replacement of Mr. Khumalo with Mr. Zuma as party leader is lawful or not. The rest of the issues will take place elsewhere as and when they arise.
Yeah, and then essentially what you're saying is we might see quite a lengthy legal battle then for the leadership of the MK party.
Yes, I think it might be gravitating in the direction of what we have seen with COPE. You remember with COPE, there's been litigation until the party was completely obliterated. I mean, the leaders there were fighting case after case. This one takes the other one to court, then there's an appeal. So we might see that type of situation panning itself out. But it also means, and this is very interesting because this is a new party. It's supposed to actually have a founding Congress where it can actually elect leaders. Remember, the current leaders are not elected, even on the version of Mr. Khumalo. They are appointed because they are founding leaders of the party. But in a proper democratic situation, you would expect that MK party should convene a Congress where it can actually elect leaders, pass resolutions, adopt the constitution or effect amendments and adopt policies and those kind of things. How that is going to happen if there's a fight about leadership is going to be a problem. Otherwise, we are going to see two Congresses being held at the same time.
Yeah, in the run-up to these elections, particularly at the period where we were seeing campaigning, even after the ruling by the Apex Court, the MK party was here on Channel 405 saying to us that even post the elections, their leader that they're going to put forward is going to be Jacob Zuma. Of course, the question was what mechanism they're going to use after that ruling by the Constitutional Court. Is there a mechanism for them to use to send former President Jacob Zuma into the National Assembly?
Well, look, I think they were just making, political statements for election purposes. It's impossible. The Constitutional Court has ruled that he's not eligible. And there's no way that he will be sworn in as a member of parliament. It's impossible.
Yeah, I think just lastly, perhaps your opinion on this, and perhaps not a legal question, but you make the example of if we're going to see the party's leaders and former leaders now going through a lengthy legal battle. If you make the comparison that this is essentially what happened to COPE, and you say, your words, that this is essentially what led to the obliteration of the party. What do you think the message is to the electorate that certainly has come out in its numbers to vote for the MK party?
Well, look, I think it's disturbing, generally, and not only just to MK, that, political parties seem to forget that they depend on us, both as a society, as members of the public, and as their members and people who vote for them. They sometimes think that these issues are about them. Now, you can imagine, and to use the example of COPE, remember when COPE first elected its first election, it did very well. But it led to the disappointment of those who voted for it because all what they saw was a spectacle of fights and fights and fights and fights. I think other political parties have had the same situation. I think the PAC has also had a fight about its sole member in the National Assembly. The sum total of it is that you ultimately think, okay, these people are in there for themselves and not for the public. Because if the party is unable, and at the top leadership, unable to resolve its own personal internal squabbles. You ask yourself the question, are they capable of running a government? Are they capable of representing us effectively and efficiently?
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting process then that we watch very closely. But thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. A legal analyst is speaking to us there, Mr. Modidima Mannya. You'd remember as well that on Wednesday, we saw Jabulani Khumalo, who we know now as the former leader or founder of the MK party, arriving at the Results Operations Center in Midrand, saying that he's there in his capacity as the leader of the MK party. This is even though we know that he has been expelled from the party by former President Jacob Zuma. Well, now he's heading to the Electoral Court the Electoral Court will be hearing the case of Jabulani Khumalo, who says he wants the registration of Jacob Zuma as leader of the party to be declared invalid. What does that say to you, the electorate, and certainly what you think it means for the future of the party? Let us know at Newzroom 405.